Hey, what's up, folks? How we doing tonight? I am Adam, Sports Talking It, and we're going to talk USFL Week 9. Some teams have gotten into the playoff already, and other teams are on the fence, in, out. This weekend will be a major breaker stay home season for the second year of the USFL. Once again, two teams get in, they play each other, then the winners play each other in the finals. Of course, we have our guest tonight. We have Evan is in Texas. Just to let everyone know why I am sitting in right now as the opening host. And first, we're going to bring in, as Evan calls him, Mr. Berman Jr. I wonder how he's doing tonight. Let's find out. What's up, Jamie?
Hi, Adam. How you doing tonight? It's good to
We're doing.
my fellow Pittsburgh Mullers fan and Pittsburgh Squealers fan, as Evan would call Adam. As most people know, he's a Steelers fan as well. So
I am a Steelers fan. Anyway, not sure what that is or who that is. Anyway, we're gonna bring in the guy that works with the Stallions really close, and he knows he has made an extra week.
That's right. Yeah, it's a nice week to be talking USFL for me.
yes, that's right. Congratulations, Lucas. Birmingham Stallions are the first team to make the South Division playoffs and once again get a home game at Protective Stadium in Birmingham. Congrats to the Stallions.
Right. All is right with the world.
Yes, it is.
Good job, Lucas.
I don't know that I can say I deserve any credit, but I did my best cheering the team on this weekend.
Well, it started out very exciting. We knew that the Maulers had to win and in, and let's see if they got there, or not win and in, but win and get a little closer to the final stage being set in Week 10. Jamie, would you like to lead it off?
Yes, I absolutely will. This was a exciting game to kick off the weekend, as this was a game that featured two Northern Divisional rival teams, as Michigan's quarterback was Josh Love. Got to do with it, babe. And he actually, fun fact, was a former Pittsburgh Mauler before he was released and claimed and finished the season with the Michigan Panthers last year, and is now still with the Michigan Panthers. And they headed to Canton to take on the Pittsburgh Maulers, who were led by quarterback Troy Williams, who needed a win to be staying alive in the playoffs that they needed to win. So anyway, let's get this game started, and let's get this game started quickly. Anyway, in the first quarter, Troy Williams throws an awesome touchdown pass to Josh Simmons, who earlier in the year won Special Teams Player of the Week with a long touchdown run against the Philadelphia Stars, or as Coldplay sung in their song "You're a Sky Full of Stars." Anyway, the extra point by Chris Blewett was good, and the Maulers led 7-0. That was the end of the first quarter. We go to the second quarter. Chris Blewett kicks a 43-yard field goal. The kick is good. Pittsburgh leads 10-0. Then Blewett adds another field goal. Kick is good. The Maulers lead at halftime over Michigan 13-0. It's a shutout, folks. It's a shutout. Then we go to the third quarter. Michigan Panthers gets on the board as Josh Love got to do with it, babe. Throws a touchdown strike to Cole Hicatini, and the score makes it 13-6 with the extra 13-7 with the extra point. Good. Then blew it, kicks another field goal. Pittsburgh leads by 9. In the XFL, that would be a 2-score game, and the score is 16-7, unlike the NFL, which would be it's a 1-score game in the XFL, 2-score game in the NFL. Sorry, folks. My mistake there. Now, in the fourth quarter, Chris Blewett would put the game away, adding a 22-yard field goal, and the Pittsburgh Panthers are staying alive in the North Division playoffs as they improved to 3-6 with a 19-7 win, while the Panthers also fall to 3-6 in the division, setting up a big must-win playoff game next week between the Mullers and the Generals. And technically it's a home game for the Generals, even though it's in Canton, because both teams are hubbed in Canton, but it's a home game for the Generals next weekend.
Thank you, Jamie. The Maulers offense they need to click. They need to click next week. You can't go into a game and have 166 yards total passing and expect to win. The defense and Blewett carry this team, and that's kind of like a Pittsburgh thing. 4 interceptions. What did I read? 5 sacks, I believe. And they just know how to play Jordan Love. I mean, I saw a clip earlier this week where Webb was talking about it too, and I said, yeah, they own Love this year. They know how he plays. They played against him last year. But Ginda, 13 tackles. That was pretty amazing to me. Now, this was the bigger stat, I thought. The Maulers had the ball for almost 37 and a half minutes to the Panthers' 22 minutes. I thought that was a big stat for the day. But 62 plays of offense only got 226 yards total. So that is very concerning to me. Luke, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think I wouldn't say that I'm terribly impressed with either of these teams. I'm impressed with both of their defenses, but neither one, has a super strong offense and can play a complete game. So I do think the Maulers are probably better positioned to make a run into the playoffs than the Panthers. It's just hard for me to be a believer in the Panthers right now. But that being said, kind of like you were saying, Adam, I just don't see how the Maulers get to where they'd want to be with solely a defense and special teams. So really impressive defensive performance by them. They got to feel good about where they're at heading into the, week 10, winning you're in. Like Chris Berman Jr. said, they're staying alive, but they got to, like you said, they got to figure out the offensive side of the ball, or else I just think they're going to be in trouble, whether it's next week or in the playoffs.
I just don't know. Like Madre London, 12 rushes, 51 yards. That's not going to get it done. But somehow they kept the ball for 37 minutes. That was more impressive to me than a lot of things.
But I think a lot of that 37 minutes goes, credit goes to the defense, just because they forced so many turnovers. The ball was always back in the Maulers' hands. The Maulers, they had some drives, but it wasn't like the offense was just, like you said, running up and down the field, controlling the clock, controlling the game. The defense deserves just as much, if not more, credit than the offense probably for that stat.
Jamie, any thoughts?
Shout out goes to the defense, man. They saved the offense today. Defense showed why they're the best in the league, and the offense showed why they're about as consistent as a. They're about as consistent as a sixth grade middle school student with their math test scores.
So here's my question: Do these guys, they go up against their number one defense in practice, and it shows?
Do you think
Do you think that's key to why they don't click as well as they should be?
It could be.
You'd like to think it'd be the opposite, where it's like they go up against such a good defense in practice that once they get into the game, they're able to have more success because they're not having as much of a challenge. But that certainly has not been the case.
Mm-mm. Not at all, Luke. Not at all.
All right. Players of the game, anyone besides Josh Love and his 4 interceptions?
I give Tizino defensive player of the game.
Yeah,
Zena didn't even lead the game in tackles, wasn't it? Toward his zone, or geez, I butchered the shit out of that one.
But I give Tizino he made a couple good he made that one interception in the beginning.
Yeah, I think he finished with 2 interceptions.
2, yeah. I give the entire defense credit. The turnover hammer was working overtime. Hammer time, baby.
Seriously.
We're ending.
Yeah, I was going to say Tizino. You kind of stole that one from me, Jamie.
He had 2 interceptions.
Yeah, 2 interceptions. I think he had like 7 tackles or something like that.
He did 6 solo.
Yeah, so not
He's a
not
beast,
as many tackles
man.
as he normally. Yeah, not as many tackles as he normally has, but it's not like he was silent. I mean, he contributed in other ways. Had two huge interceptions. I mean, that was half of the 4 interceptions they had. So
he probably, Luke. It looks like he probably could have had another 3 or 4 interceptions because he had 3 pass deflections.
yeah, I mean, he was the Mahler's linebackers are not only good, side to side on the field, stopping the run and making tackles. They're also great in coverage, which is a huge advantage, I think, in a league like this to have versatile guys in the middle of the defense there.
Oh, and shout out to my boy Big Boogie Roberts for taking the knee at the end of the game. And did you see what he said on Twitter? He said, I have negative rushing yards now. We'll screw that, Big Boogie Roberts. You did the important thing. You took the knee and you sealed the victory. And you sealed the victory, my man. Negative rushing yards don't mean anything when you're taking the knee for the win, man. That's awesome.
Right.
They need to, next week if they can, they need to like line up at the 2-yard line and let him be a fullback and hand him off and run into the end zone. Get that.
Well, here's the funny. He was a running back in high school.
There you go.
Like the fridge, William the Refrigerator Perry.
Exactly.
I called him the fridge on the show when he was on. And when I read that, I was like, you need to get in there. And he's like, I don't know. So anyway,
catching the vision.
Maybe. Are we ready to move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I wanted to play a clip. Evan put a clip on here for us today. That was Evan that bumped in real quick because I asked him where the clip was.
I thought that was like a Russian hacker or something.
XYZ.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see how the Showboats day went.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums it up.
Well, I was expecting volume, but in the actual clip, it does say "fuck," and you hear it plain as day. And I was very shocked. Did you see his lips at the end after he was coming off the field? Yeah.
Yeah, he had a rough day.
We'll play it again real quick, just so everyone can see the end of that.
Right there.
And if you watch the highlights on YouTube at the 6-minute mark about that, he does scream "fuck" and it makes it onto the screen. So I don't know why they didn't catch it, but that's just kind of the day the Showboats had. I mean, they've won 5 straight. It was bound to happen. I mean, eventually the ride does end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jamie, do you want to tell us what happened?
Yeah,
Aren't you?
yeah. I guess big game Todd Haley, a big game Cole Kelly didn't show up. It was actually really big game New Orleans defense in this one. So here we go. We go to the first quarter. Um, uh, uh, McLaughlin kicks a field goal and it's good. New Orleans already leads 3-0. Then we go into the first quarter. Um, The Hills are alive as West Hills barrels into the end zone for a touchdown. New Orleans leads by 10. Then New Orleans has a pick six by Vontae Diggs, and New Orleans is up by 3 scores, 17-0. Then we go into the second quarter, and but wait a minute. Sorry, first forget the second quarter. My bad. We go into the first quarter with the rain and lightning delay, and from there that totally ended the broadcast on NBC. So then I had to watch the rest of the highlights on YouTube. So then we go to the YouTube highlights on the computer as the regularly scheduled programs or we're on NBC. So on the YouTube highlights, we see in the second quarter, Memphis finally gets on the board as Alex Kessman. The field goal is good. And New Orleans leads 17-3 at the half. So what did you guys think about that first half?
It was 17-0 at the end of the first quarter, I believe, and that just kind of set the tone for the day. Interceptions did not help this team at all. Cole Kelly finally had a bad game. 3 picks. There was fumbles too. I forget who fumbled for them big early. First and 10, Memphis turned it over. Wilson fumbled. New Orleans recovered. This seemed like the weekend of turnovers. But we'll get into that more. But that's just what it seemed like to me after watching the first games of the day.
Yeah. I thought the Showboats, I don't think are a team that are built well to play from behind. They have a good defense. They have a good offense, but it's not, other than Derek Dillon, their best wide receiver, I wouldn't say it's a super explosive offense. Cole Kelly, just to contrast him with another player that I know well, he's not really an Alex Magoo, I'm going to kind of do these crazy, creative, huge, big-time plays. I mean, I wouldn't say he's just a game manager, but he's not as explosive maybe. He's able to stand in the pocket, make some good throws, lead the offense. But, again, other than when Derek Dillon has kind of ripped off some big plays, I don't feel like they're a super explosive offense. And so they've been at their best whenever they've been able to play defense, kind of grind teams down, almost like a more complete version of the Maulers or what the Generals have been this year. And so I think when they get down early, they kind of panic. They start trying to force things, turn the ball over, and it just goes from bad to worse. I mean, you kind of saw that when they played the Stallions at the beginning of the year, and you saw that again this week when they played the Breakers. They're just not a good team when they have to play from behind.
Well, you mentioned Dillon, but it looks like, as I recall, over the year, Papel has been more of Kelly's go-to target.
Yeah, Papali's definitely been kind of like the possession receiver, gets a lot of catches, a lot of touches, definitely has had some good big plays and touchdowns too. Dillon is just more there kind of like anytime the ball's in his hands, something crazy.
I don't we usually talk about it, Luke, where he gets like 4 or 5 catches on 4 or 5 throws, excuse me, like every week. And what do you have this week? It was like 7 or 8 targets. Even Papel had 9 targets. I know that because I looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
This team outplayed them. They out-yarded them, but they turned it over enough where the Breakers didn't have a lot of room to rack up the yards because the time of possessions were pretty much even. The yards, like I said, they had more yards. But
and
I mean, like we talked about, why the Maulers didn't have a lot of yards, a lot of turnover yards.
Well, in this South Division, you can't expect to win if you play like that. I mean, the teams in the South are just too good. If you turn the ball over, if you make kind of big mistakes, they're going to make you pay for it. And so, And I think the Breakers, they obviously started off the year really strong. They were the only team that was 4-0 almost halfway through the season. And they went on that slump, that kind of 3-game skid. But I think they're starting to get their confidence back a little bit. They've won 2 games in a row. And, they've got a lot of veteran leadership at the quarterback spot and a lot of guys back from a really good team last year. So I think that's starting to show for them as they get into that home stretch and really kind of lock in with a lot at stake in these final games of the season.
Do you think the Breakers, I know they control their own destination. Do you think we get the rematch from last year?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I think the Gamblers are a good team, but honestly, the Gamblers have kind of been scraping by for a few weeks. They barely beat the Maulers 2 weeks ago. They only won because Blewett literally blew it. And then, they've had a couple other really close wins in the weeks prior. And so, I think the Breakers are a better team. I think they're a more complete team. Offensively, I think they're more well-rounded. I think defensively, they've probably been – I think they've got more playmakers and are a little bit more consistent. And like I said a second ago, I think they've got more veteran leadership on the field than the Gamblers do. I think the Gamblers are probably going to be a little deflated after getting kind of stomped this weekend by the Stallions and really struggling against them. And I just don't think the Gamblers are going to be able to keep up with the Breakers with kind of, essentially the playoff starting this week for those two teams. The Gamblers are certainly capable of winning, but I just don't think they have the firepower to pull it out. I think we get the rematch.
What who they play next week? I'm sorry.
The Gamblers and Breakers play each other.
The thing I like about this right now, it's not like last year where they had to tell the Panthers and Maulers that, hey, the winner gets first pick, not the loser.
Right.
To make a competition. Every team is virtually still alive.
No, technically every team is still alive. Now, for some of them, they need some help to be able to get in and some things to kind of bounce their way. But technically, no team has been eliminated yet. Which going into week 10,
pretty good for 8 teams.
Yeah, going into week 10 games with only 8 teams. I mean, that's great. I mean, as far as the level of competition and parity, I mean, last year that's definitely not how it was. By this point last year, we knew who was going to be in the playoffs. It wasn't a question. Like you said, we had teams playing in a tank bowl, just trying to win a second game, in week 10. So yeah, I mean, the level of competition this year has been, I mean, I don't know how you could want it to be any better. I mean, the only thing maybe that you'd want to be better is more, kind of equality between the North and the South. But within the divisions, I mean, it's every team is capable of beating every other team. If Memphis beats Birmingham this weekend, and if Houston ends up pulling off a win against the Breakers, then every team in the South Division will finish 3-3 in the division.
So where do we go from there?
Well,
naturally the Stallions are still going to wrap up the division because
the Stallions will still win
the division, but it's after that the Gamblers, so
it depends. So basically, if the Gamblers win and the Showboats win, then they'll all three be 6-4. And the tiebreakers, the way that it would work out is if Philly beats Michigan, then the Gamblers would get in because they would have a stronger strength of schedule because based on the teams that they beat. If Philly loses and Michigan wins, then the Gamblers, Breakers, and Showboats would be in a 3-way tie based on the first couple tiebreakers, and it would go to net point differential. Right now, the Breakers are far and away ahead in terms of point differential. So unless the Breakers get blown out by the Gamblers, or the Breakers and Gamblers, like the Gamblers kind of win decently big against the Breakers, and then the Showboats blow out the Stallions, then most likely the Breakers would still get in based on point differential. But technically Houston and Memphis could still get in on point differential. It just obviously depends on who scores how many points this weekend.
So now we're paying attention to points as well this week.
Yes.
So if there's a blowout in one of these games, someone could be going home because of that blowout, even with the same, because of the fourth division of point of differential.
Yeah.
If we get that far.
Yeah, this is kind of a, self-plug here. But if you go to my Twitter and kind of go back to yesterday, I was kind of looking at all these scenarios yesterday, and I tweeted a lot about different things that could kind of happen. And one of the things I tweeted was, if you remember after week 2 when the Stallions beat the Showboats 42-2, Todd Haley was really upset. And after the game told Skip Holtz, I don't know why you all had to run up the score like that. I think that was wrong basically. And, we're going to remember that. And I kind of tweeted like, well, Todd Haley was right when he said, we're going to remember that. Cause looking back, that blowout might be one of the reasons they don't make the playoffs. Memphis needs a few other things to happen, but right now they have the worst point differential out of New Orleans, Houston, and Memphis. And a big reason for that is because they got blown out 42-2 in week 2, and then they lost 31-3 last week. If you take away those 2 games, they actually have the best point differential between those 3 teams, but those 2 blowouts are really dragging them down. So Memphis can still make the playoffs, but what has to happen is, number 1, Michigan has to beat Philadelphia. Number 2, Houston has to beat New Orleans. Number 3, they have to beat Birmingham. And in those 2 games, Houston has to beat New Orleans by at least 26 points. And Memphis has to beat Birmingham by at least 11 points more than whatever Houston beats New Orleans by.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So, I had a tweet at first where I said, Memphis has effectively been eliminated from the playoffs. And some people, I don't think like that, because technically they haven't been eliminated for the playoffs. But that's why I didn't say Memphis has been eliminated. I said they've effectively been eliminated, because what I was trying to say is the probability of all of those things happening, it's got to be like less than 1%. You're talking they have to blow out the best team in the league by probably at least 40 points. Houston has to blow out.
I can't see the Stallions laying down.
No. Even if the Stallions – now, the good news for the Showboats is the Stallions might rest their starters. Coach Holtz talked about that, after the press conference this weekend. But even still, the drop-off for the Stallions between their 1 and 2s, it's not a big drop. The 2s are always rotating in on offense and defense anyway. So it's like, unless the Showboats just, go for 3 every time they score a touchdown, go for the onside play every time they score a touchdown, and then just, come out on fire and somehow, play crazy well against the Stallions. It's just hard for me to imagine they're going to blow the Stallions out by 40. And then on top of that, even if they do that, they still need Houston to blow out New Orleans by at least, like I said, 26, which, again, that's hard to think that that's going to happen. I think New Orleans is probably going to beat Houston. If Houston pulls it out, I don't think it's going to be by a 30-point margin, which is what Memphis needs. And even if both of those things happen, if Philadelphia beats Michigan, they still don't get in. So it's like Philly has to lose to Michigan, which I don't think is super likely. Houston has to blow out New Orleans, which I think is probably less likely. And Memphis has to hugely blow out Birmingham, which I think is even less likely. So it's just like, yeah, okay, technically Memphis hasn't been eliminated, but let's be honest. We're talking about like a point.
They're at like a 2% chance.
Yeah. So
they need all, as some people would say, they need all the stars to align.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the good news for Todd Haley is he can tell his players hey guys, we haven't been eliminated. And that's true. He's not lying to them. So they've got something to play for. It's just there's so much out of their control. The odds of them making it in are next to nothing. But if I'm him, I'm just telling my guys, hey guys, we need to win this game. That's all we can worry about is winning this game, and we need to win by as much as possible. If we can do those 2 things, the only things we can control, that might not be enough to get us in, but that's what we got to do, and they've got something to play for. But the odds of them making it in are about as small as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, do you want to finish this game or what?
Yeah, so let's get back to the –
all right, that was a very long halftime break.
So let's get back to the second half, folks. And I want to say one thing. Nobody in this game has fallen on the loose fumbles besides the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cleveland Browns in the NFL And in the USFL, nobody falls on the loose fumbles in this game like the New Orleans Breakers. Anyway, in the second half, we go touchdown. Bethel Thompson's pass to Jay Lou, and the extra point is good. New Orleans leads Memphis by 21 points, 24-3. Then we go to the fourth quarter. We go to Eli Stove on an end around, not Eli Electric Stove, not Eli Gas Stove, which they want to try to ban, but Eli Regular Stove, which is an end around and a touchdown. New Orleans wins, and that's your final. New Orleans wins 31-3 in one of the most ugliest games this year in USFL history. Wow, folks.
I will say Memphis figured out Bethel Thompson. He did only have 88 yards passing, which is pretty bad for how many points they put up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but too late. I guess.
So
you had
New Orleans
told
defense
me-
scored, or was there a lot of field goals?
The defense scored, I think, at least once. And then, I think West Hills had a few, maybe one or two rushing touchdowns or something like
West
that.
Hills got one.
Yeah.
The Hills are
He only had
alive.
46 yards.
I mean, the thing
But
was,
like
is
we
they
talked
had
about
such-
before, when you start in really good position, it's hard to get yards.
Right. Like, I mean, when you're getting the ball at the other team's 20 or 30 to start each of your drives, and you don't have to go far to get points.
Right.
But yeah, if you had told me that, in this game, McLeod Bethel Thompson, was going to go in there and throw for 88 yards, and West Hills was going to rush for 46, I would have told you, whew,
But
Showboats.
the defense won him the game. That's
Yeah,
that's
I would
what
have been
it
like,
was.
Showboats are going to definitely win big, but
I would have lost a
that
lot of
wasn't the
money.
whole story,
Defense and turnovers.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the Breakers offense didn't do much, but I mean they didn't have to.
Fernandez and Elder leading the way in tackles, 11 for Fernandez and 9 for Elder. That's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Breakers defense on this one.
Agreed.
Yeah,
And the
I mean,
turnovers.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
It's
you got
just
to
hard to believe all these turnovers.
give it to somebody on the defense. I mean, Vontae Diggs, probably my player of the game. He had the pick 6.
Oh, he returned one to the house. I saw that.
Yeah, he had the pick 6, and had 5 tackles. And
That was a horrible throw by Cole Kelly.
It was.
The
It was
fumbled
bad.
snap, and he's just running around. Throw the damn ball out of bounds. He got hit, though, so it was hard to – he did get hit as he was releasing it, so it might have got moved up a little bit. I mean, I'm not putting all of the blame off of Kelly because he should have went down for a sack or something. He should have been a better educated player on that move.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah, it was tough.
All right. So, Luke, you want to take the next game? This is your team, your dream, your moment to scream. Well, not literally, but.
Sure, I'll take it. So I was at this one down on the sideline doing some.
I forgot to ask you, Luke, for pictures, damn it.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Did some live tweeting and updating from the sideline during the game. So it was
You
fun
didn't
to
put
be
any
able
live
to
video
do that.
now, huh?
Do what?
You didn't do any live video?
I did do some. I didn't really do any live videoing. I did record some plays and stuff like that and post them as the game was going on. Try to keep people updated, especially that first hour because the first hour of the game was only on Peacock. But yeah, it was a good game. It started off really slow in the first half. In the first quarter alone, there were 2 3-and-outs, 3 turnovers. And something else, and then I think 1 field goal was like the only scoring in the whole first quarter. So starting off, it wasn't really the game I think we were expecting. I think we were expecting a little more offense. Obviously, these two teams are known for having 2 of the best players in the league. Stallions quarterback Alex Magoo, who looks like pretty much a lock at this point to be the MVP, And then Mark Thompson, Houston's running back, who set a record for rushing touchdowns in a season in the kind of modern USFL, is kind of, was kind of nipping at his heels for that MVP award, but he's probably out of contention now, probably a likely pick for Offensive Player of the Year. But coming into the game with those two guys, I think people were expecting a lot of offense, but that wasn't the game we got at first. A lot of mistakes early on. So, the Stallions, I guess first, the Gamblers, after a couple 3-and-outs, the Gamblers threw an interception. Quentin Poling, who had a huge game for the Stallions, got the Defensive Player of the Week award for the USFL for the second time this season. He got an interception early on in the game, and the Stallions, 2 plays later, gave it right back to the Gamblers. Ran a speed option. Magoo pitched it to Marable, who had a lot of room to run, but started thinking about running before he secured the ball and fumbled it. Gamblers got on it. So the Stallions defense, though, held strong. They were able to force a field goal, which is kind of a theme for the day. And, that made it 3-0 for the Gamblers. But then Stallions gave the ball right back. Deion Kane fumbled the ball on the next kick. So you had essentially back-to-back fumbles for the Stallions. Turned into another field goal for the Gamblers. And then the Gamblers, they kind of had still some offensive struggles, couldn't finish drives. Stallions were finally able to get something going, get the ball kind of down the field, but couldn't get in the end zone either. So they had to kick a field goal. It was kind of just a bunch of field goals in the first half. So we were sitting at 6-3, and then the Gamblers got another field goal. It's just kind of the story of the first half, and so it was 9-3. But the Stallions kind of did what they've done all year, which is they got the ball back with 57 seconds to go before half. And for the Stallions, that's too much time to give them. And so Magoo hit Sternberger down the middle of the field for a over 40-yard gain. And then I think it was 4 plays later, Magoo hit Sternberger in the end zone, toe tap catch on the sideline of the end zone, great catch. And again, the Stallions, they've been in this place a couple times this season where really didn't have a good first half at all, but somehow they managed to go into the locker room ahead at halftime because their defense played really well, especially in the red zone with their backs up against the wall, and their offense kind of got the spark lit in them right before half. And so had to feel good about where they were sitting going into half up 10-9. And then, from there, second half, it was just kind of a Stallions explosion. So they came out, scored a touchdown immediately after 4 plays. Magoo threw a beautiful kind of deep 40-yard post ball to Deion Kane in stride in the end zone, and that put them up 17-9. And then, Magoo ended up throwing an interception, kind of had uncharacteristically poor decision, but the Gamblers were able to cut into the lead, make it 17-15 after a pair of field goals. But that was it for them. That was all they were able to produce. And then from there, the Stallions just started pouring it on. Marable had a touchdown rush to put him up 24-15. Then Bahar kind of had a pretty rough play where he scrambled around trying to make something happen, falling down, loses control of the ball. It goes flying up in the air right into Matt Hankins' arm, who waltzes in the end zone to make it 31-15. And then Magoo runs in one more time to make it 38-15. So kind of at the end of the game, the Stallions just ran away with it. But, I think the last thing I'll say, and then I'll interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I mean, the player of the game for this game wasn't really a single player. You could definitely talk about Magoo's performance. You could also talk about Quentin Poling's performance on the defensive side of the ball. But really the player of the game was just the entire Stallions defensive unit. What they did was very impressive against a very good offense with probably the best running back in the league, some really good receivers, a good quarterback who's been inconsistent, but when he's been on, he's been very good. And I tweeted this out earlier, just some stats to kind of put in perspective what they accomplished this weekend. The Stallions defense had 7 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 3 takeaways, a touchdown, and they held Houston. Houston ran 69 plays, but they held Houston to 3.4 yards per play, less than 150 passing yards, less than 100 rushing yards, 0 touchdowns. Houston was 0 for 5 on red zone attempts as far as touchdowns go. Houston was only 4 of 16 on third down, so 25% of the time. And they went for it on fourth down 3 times and were only 1 for 3, only 33% on third down. So defensively, I don't know how the defense could have played any better. than they did, and that was really the secret to the Stallions' success in this game because the offense. I mean, they ended up kind of exploding for 38 points by the time it was all said and done, but it really took them a whole half to kind of get into their rhythm, and the defense really kept them from. If the defense hadn't played the way they did in the first half, it could have easily been 21-10 going into halftime when the Stallions scored that last touchdown right before half. And so huge kudos to the Stallions defense. They seem to be getting healthy and kind of peaking at the right time for the Stallions. And next week they get Scooby right back, so they're only going to get better. But huge day for them. They really wanted this one bad. Thompson kind of had talked a little trash on Twitter leading up to the game, and so I know the defense wanted to kind of shut him down and help Magoo out in that MVP race, and they mission accomplished. So great day for them.
They sure did shut Thompson down like 56 yards from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this game,
I don't know how many carries though, but I know he only had 56 yards.
Yeah, 17 carries, so he averaged I think just under 4 yards per carry or something like that. His longest run was a 17-yarder. So I mean, if you take that rush out, he has basically 39 yards on 16 carries. So it's like 2.5 yards per carry or something like that. So they really bottled him up. He had 13 touchdowns in 6 games coming into this week. So he was averaging more than 2 touchdowns per game, and he had none this week. And it wasn't necessarily for a lack of opportunity. I mean, they got the ball in the red zone 5 times and didn't get in the end zone once. So, again, kudos to the Stallions defense. I mean, if the Stallions defense plays in the postseason like they did on Sunday, I think it's a wrap. I don't see who beats them if their defense plays like that, because their offense is going to score.
Is Poling making a huge difference? What do you have? 11 tackles this week, an interception. Yeah. I think 2 pass deflections. Is he making a move towards some defensive player of the year?
I think that if he had gotten kind of like a full season, I think he would be in the conversation. At the beginning of the year, he was on the active roster, but he was kind of like the number 3 linebacker behind Scooby Wright and then Nate Holley. And so I think because Poling didn't get the same amount of playing time throughout the year that some of these other guys like Frank Ginda and Tizino and stuff like that have gotten, he's probably not like being seriously considered for Defensive Player of the Year. But I think if he had gotten a full season, I think he would have. I mean, he's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Week. I think I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say Ginda has gotten it 3 times. I think Tizino maybe has gotten it twice. And then I think Poling's gotten it twice. So I think between those 3 players, that's like 7 out of the 9 weeks. So, I mean, I think Poling is certainly just as good as those guys. And when he's been on the field, has been just as productive as those guys. He just hasn't got the same number of opportunities and reps that those guys have. I mean, the first half, somebody tweeted out, in the middle of the game, in the first half alone, Poling had, I think it was, I want to say 9 tackles, a half a sack, a tackle for loss, an interception, and 1 or 2 pass deflections or something like that in the first half.
He only had 2 tackles in the second half, or did they pull him?
Yeah, he only had 2 tackles in the second half.
4 tackles. I'm sorry. He ended up with 13, right?
He ended up with 11.
That'd be 4.
Yeah, he only had 2.
He had 9 at the first and then 4 in the second.
Yeah, yeah.
New Orleans just didn't run at him. I mean, Memphis didn't run at him.
He wasn't in as much in the second half. I think there was a little bit more. They were going a little bit more nickel, where they were bringing an extra, DB in because they had to try and stop the pass because the Gamblers were behind and trying to move the ball through the air. So I think he just wasn't in as much, didn't have as many opportunities in the second half, but he still had, like, in the second half, the Gamblers got down to, I want to say like the 9-yard line or something like that, a 3rd and 2, and Poling stuffed Thompson to force another field goal. So, I mean, he still had some big plays in the second half, not as many as the first, but yeah, I mean, he's been a stud for them for sure, and a huge guy to step in once Scooby Wright got hurt and, basically had to miss essentially almost the entire season.
Scooby on his way back, or what's going on with that verdict?
Scooby will be back this week. So I don't know. I'm curious to see. So Coach Holtz talked about this after the game, but the Stallions really have nothing to play for this week. They're guaranteed to be in the playoffs, and it's guaranteed to be in Protective Stadium in Birmingham at this point. So they've had a lot of injuries this year, and I know Holtz is very aware of that. So I think he's seriously considering resting some of the starters at least part of the game, because I know they don't really want to get anybody else hurt going into the postseason. And in the USFL, there's no bye week, right? So you never get that opportunity to kind of take a week off and rest up. So I think I'd have to assume, I know he talked about it. He didn't say he'd made up his mind, but I know he's seriously considering resting the starters at least some of the game. And Scooby is a guy who struggled with injuries this year. And so I'll be interested to see how much, if at all, Scooby plays this week. He is back. He's healthy. He's ready to play. My guess is that he'll get like a couple series just to kind of get back, in shape and kind of conditioning, get that game speed experience, kind of get back to where he was.
I was going to say, would they put him in for game speed, get him up to speed, let him catch on, and there's the mascot.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, that would be my guess. I would guess that they'll leave him in, maybe for like the first quarter or the first half, let him get back up to game speed, get some tackles, get some hits, kind of, get feeling good, and then pull him out, midway through the game or something like that, so he doesn't re-aggravate that injury, doesn't get hurt worse or anything. Let him rest up for the rest of the game so he can be ready to go for the playoffs. It'd be my guess of what they'll do. But I mean, I know Scooby, he's going to want to play. He's probably going to play the whole game because he hasn't really gotten a lot of opportunities this year. But I think if you're Skip Holtz, like, it's not worth the risk, to have him re-aggravate an injury. So I think you give him a few series, let him kind of get back up to game speed, but then you make him rest and get ready for the playoffs.
Berman, thoughts?
I mean, I definitely give Birmingham. It's got to go to that defense. They took a 1 point lead at half and basically shut down an explosive offense and turned it into a blowout win. And with Poling, and Poling is a great player, and I actually wrote about him in my article. I wrote it because he got USFL Defensive Player of the Week this week for Week 9, and he was great player this weekend. He did have 11 tackles, as you mentioned. So that was 9 and then 2 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it's just too bad that he started out the year third string, or I would have voted for him for Defensive Player of the Year. Luke, like you mentioned.
Well, this was the first game I've seen where a team had more drives than the other team. The Gamblers had 14. The Stallions had 11. 38-21 for the Gamblers and 21-39 for the Stallions. And there was a lot of points scored very quickly. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the number of drives, the number of plays, the time of possession, I mean, the Gamblers had the ball way more. But, if you can't get in the end zone, it doesn't really matter, I mean, at the end of the day. So, again, the Stallions defense, I need to update the stats, but either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I ran the numbers, and the Stallions defense in their wins had only given up a touchdown in the red zone on like 22% of attempts by the other team. Whereas in their 2 losses, it was like 78% or something like that. So when the Stallions defense plays well in the red zone, they pretty much always win. I mean, that's really like the difference maker. And this week, they played better than they have all year in the red zone. Again, 0 of 5 attempts. I mean, that's crazy. Especially again, it wasn't like it was against, I don't know, the Maulers or something like that, or a team that's really
Hey,
sorry. We'll say the Generals. It was against a team that, again,
no, it's good.
It was against a team that has, the best running back in the league. So really impressive what they were able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on this game, boys?
I think we went to Philadelphia, New Jersey.
Right. So we gotta say congratulations to this guy, right?
Corey Coleman. Even though it'd be hard, it would be hard for Evan right now to admit it. Even
I
though
know.
he's
I was
not.
going to ask. I was looking forward to asking Evan about, if Corey Coleman's his offensive player of the year.
Well, let me see if I can text him and see if we can get him on.
He's been killing it with the Stars right now.
Go ahead. Who wants to take this game? I just want to say congratulations to Coleman for.
I got it. I'll take this game. So this game right here, man, this game says it all. It's not just a tale of two original teams in the USFL, but you got two original U.S. cities that are a tale as old as time. I mean, they were basically from the 13 original colonies in the 1700s, and then they became U.S. states. So you got Philadelphia, a city of liberty, a city of brotherly love, the city where the U.S. Constitution was written, and then you have the city of and then you have the state of New Jersey, home to the Real Housewives, home to the New Jersey Devils, a home to Thomas
Jersey
Jefferson.
Shore, baby.
Jersey Shore, the home to where Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. So a lot has happened in these two great. One was a famous city in the state, and but one thing's for sure: when these two meet, nobody could do a USFL football game better than the Philadelphia Stars and the New Jersey Generals. So anyway, and this was also a game where New Jersey had to win to keep its playoff hopes alive, and a game where Philadelphia won. They pretty much could wrap up the North Division with a win. So let's get to it. So right off the kickoff, I don't know about you, but who's the man this game? But how about Cam Echols, Looper? Boy, did this guy take a shot of an espresso when he woke up in the morning. Then probably took a shot of 5 Hour Energy before he left to drive to the stadium or go to the stadium for tonight's game, as he took the opening kickoff 85 yards and whoop, right to the end zone for the game's opening touchdown as New Jersey led early 7-0 after the first quarter. How about that? An opening kickoff by Cam Echols, Looper right after you lose Cavante Turpin to the Cowboys, fellas. How about that to start out the game?
It was an exciting start for sure. I actually was I watched this game on TV, but I was a little late turning it on. So I turned it on, like 5 minutes into the game, and it was already 7-0.
Okay, and Adam, what about your thoughts?
Opening kickoffs are fun to see. This whole league, I mean, I love the fact that we see a lot of big returns, not usually taken all the way to the house like this one was, but we do usually see, 60-yard returns. More than likely they have to be getting more than 35 yards return. It feels like every return's almost huge. I don't know what the average is. I don't even know where to look for that stat, but it just feels like it has to be about 35 yards on average.
See, NFL. Go ahead.
I was going to say,
then I'll make my piece.
Yeah, a guy I work with a lot, James Larson with the Pro Football Newsroom. He wrote an article a few weeks back about that, Adam, and I'm probably getting it wrong, but I want to say he said the average kickoff return in the USFL right now, I want to say is 37 yards. It was drastically higher than the NFL, as you would not be surprised to hear.
So NFL, this is why the spring leagues are coming back. People actually like kickoff returns, not taking them away. But anyway, after that game, we move later on in the first quarter. Philadelphia's opening drive as Case Cookus throws a touchdown pass to our projected offensive player of the year and former Cleveland Brown wide receiver, first round pick Corey Coleman. Bam. Game tied at 7. And how about the throw by Case Cookis to Coleman here, fellas?
Hey, Luke, can we try something? I don't know if
Yes.
it would work. Evan obviously isn't by a computer anymore, but he wants to know what questions you have for him.
I want to know his assessment of future USFL Offensive Player of the Year, Corey Coleman's performance.
Well, Evan, I just explained to you right there. He just had a touchdown to tie the game at 7 right here from Case Cookis. So that's a good start right there. Anyway, now we move on to the game tied at 7. New Jersey attempting a 39-yard field goal. The kick from kicker Nick Skiba is good, and New Jersey leads Philadelphia 10-7. We move on to the second quarter. Yes, and then later, Philadelphia, the kick from Luis Aguilar ties the game at 10. Then we go to the second quarter. New Jersey in the jungle formation, running a tight end play. And we got, oh my God, what's this? A trick play. DeAndre Johnson hands the ball off to Darius. Darius Victor, a halfback pass. Oh my God, he's flipped up in the air. He throws it to Bowman. New Jersey leads 17-10. Darius Victor. Oh, those thick thighs really do save lives, folks. Do they? Then New Jersey leads 17-10. And then Philadelphia kicks another field goal by Aguilar. It's good. New Jersey leads 17-13. And then we go to the third quarter. Victor barreling his thick thighs again into the end zone. Touchdown. New Jersey, but the extra point is no bueno. New Jersey leads 23-13. Philadelphia comes back with a field goal. Aguilar, es bueno. The kick is good. New Jersey now leads, New Jersey now leads 23-16. But then touchdown. Victor again. Touchdown. New Jersey leads 30-16. And then we go to the fourth. New Jersey, the backup running back. Touchdown, Trey Williams. Nick Skiba. The extra point is good. New Jersey leads by 3 touchdowns, 37-16. Philadelphia, here comes the comeback. They go into their 2-minute drill already. Cookis throws a touchdown to Terry. The kids are all right. As the score is now 37-23. It's a 14-point game. And now Philadelphia, touchdown pass from Cookis to Overton. It's 37-30. We have a 7-point game. Philadelphia comes back, and now Aguilar makes another field goal. The kick is good. It's 37-33. Philadelphia has one more chance to convert. It's 4th and 8. Case Cookis drops back or snaps the ball. It looks like he's about to throw, but he gets sacked by Hercules Mataafa. And just like the grandma and the Nutty Professor, we have one thing left to say, folks. Hercules wins the game and saves it for the Generals. The New Jersey Generals beat the Philadelphia Stars 37-33. They go to 3-6, and they save their season for one more day, as they now also go to 3-6 and will meet the 3-6 Pittsburgh Maulers in a winner-take-all game next week in Week 10, while the Stars fall to 4-5 and are still in the North Division Championship is still open, folks. What a game by the New Jersey Generals, and a disappointing loss for Case Cookis and the Philadelphia Stars. He already was looking for his wedding ring, folks, and now he's still looking to win the divisional championship in the North.
Mic drop.
Like the
I can't get over thighs save lives.
That one never gets old.
I think Evan's typing like a major paragraph or he's laughing. I just texted him and said, Jamie said thick thighs on TV. Save lives.
Because that's what Darius Victor said in his press conference, remember?
The Stars had 64 plays and total drives was still at 11. That just blows me away. We needed the Stars to win this game. The Maulers did.
We did, but yeah.
At this point, it doesn't really matter because the way it shook out now, it's just winning you're in for the North. It's basically the North playoffs start this week. Whoever wins advances, and you just keep going from there.
So our other co-host who's away from the show right now did just email me or message me back, said most yards in the league, top 5 in touchdowns. He's definitely done great this season. I think he's a top candidate, but I'm going with Magoo.
No, Magoo's the MVP, bro. We're talking about offensive player of the year.
I think Evan's just trying not to persuade all. Doesn't want to play favorites. Not a big Coleman fan.
He doesn't want to admit that he misses Corey Coleman is what it is. Tell him that Corey Coleman's going to look good in that orange-brown jersey.
I think he might I think he's going to look good in a Squealers jersey.
There you go. Revenge tour.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not the fastest typer. I'm not one of them.
Oh, you're good.
I'm not one of those.
I am.
Oh, you good at that, James?
Yeah. Not that you cared. I just wanted to rub it in, but
That's fine. That's fine. You're allowed. 2 for 6 in the red zone, 2 touchdowns. Not going to get it done. The Generals went 3 for 4, and we talked about it. You got to capitalize on these red zone miscues for touchdowns. And Evan just texted me back. He said, "Fuck no." The Coleman being in a Browns jersey.
All right, then you can be in a Steelers jersey and torch the Browns. That's fine.
Oh shit!
I mean, watching.
Speaking of big sports people that I do want to take a moment of silence. Stan Savran passed away in Pittsburgh last night. Big sports announcer, big sports radio host. Does what we do. Passed away of lung cancer and diabetes. Been fighting it for years. Stan, the guy, man. All right. If I didn't say anything about Stan on the show, I might have not been okay afterwards.
No, I hear you.
But anyway, back to that red zone. I mean, we talked about it all night. 2 of 6, 3 of 4. I mean, either your defense stands up or shuts them down, and obviously the Generals shut them down.
Yeah, this was one of those games where it's like I don't even know what to say because I feel like you can't appreciate how good of a game it was if you didn't, watch it and kind of see it, right? Like if you didn't see it, I would go back and watch it or at least watch the highlights because it was an incredible game. The Generals looked like they were going to run away with it. Then the Stars came kind of screaming back, kind of, came down to the wire. The Stars went for that 4th and 12 onside conversion, got the pass interference, got to keep going. But at the end of the day, as it has been all year, the Stars' Achilles heels are offensive line. They can't block anybody up front. And Cookus, I mean, man, you got to feel for the guy because he was just getting obliterated left and right all game long. Kept fighting. I mean, he's got that dog in him for sure. And almost single-handedly willed them back to a victory. But, just came up a little short. They're going to have to beat Michigan if they want to survive and advance to the playoffs now. I will say,
can Philadelphia's in, right?
No, they're not in yet. They got to win. So yeah, both of the North games are winning in.
It's right, but if Philadelphia loses, they're still pretty much guaranteed in.
No, if
Just
they
maybe
lose,
not the
they're out.
first spot, right? Because the other two teams are 3-6.
Yeah, but Philadelphia is 4-5. So if Philadelphia loses, they'll drop to 4-6, and the Generals and Maulers, either one of them, whoever wins, would have the tiebreaker.
Right, but that still puts Philadelphia either in first or second.
Well, if Michigan beats Philadelphia, they'll be 4-6 too. So we'll have 3 teams at 4-6, and the Stars will be out.
So this is wild.
Yeah, the Stars have been like in a win and in situation for like 2 weeks now, but they haven't won the last 2 games. So they haven't been able to seal the deal. They're still in a win and in situation, but if they don't win this week, they're out.
I mean, Kokis went 25 for 39. And still at a 109.2 QBR, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, no,
Had 3
he had a great
touchdowns.
game.
He had a good game.
He did. He was awesome.
0 picks.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting – and half the game, he looked like he was playing like a broken rib or something because he was just getting drilled every play.
Corey Coleman didn't get 100 yards, but he was close, 98 and a touch. But he had 9 more receptions added to his season.
Yeah, he was awesome too. I mean, he's come on really strong. I feel like the last few weeks. I mean, he's been one of Kokis's top targets throughout the season. But I feel like the last couple of weeks, especially, they've really kind of gotten on the same page, and they've been impressive.
Victor's definitely my standout player of this one. What do you have? Ended up with 2 touchdowns and one more in the air.
Well, he actually ended up with 3 because he threw for 1.
Right, he threw for 1 and 1 in the air.
Yeah, well, he threw for 1.
I guess it should have been.
One.
He caught one too?
That's what he said, Luke. He said two on the ground, 1 in the air, meaning 3.
Yeah. Victor had 1 catch for 12 yards.
Yeah.
I should have been more specific. I'm sorry. He threw a touchdown. Luke, you're right. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You were right, Adam. You said 3. 2 throwing, 1 in the air.
I bet, whenever you're talking about a running back, you don't expect them to throw one.
Yeah.
I said in the air, which
it was a trick play. Yeah. It was on a trick play.
Most people thought that,
yeah,
that 12-yard reception went to the house.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. He got the triple crown there, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 receiving touchdown.
He didn't get a receiving touchdown.
Was it just 2 on the ground?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
11 for 51, 4.6 average, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. That's right. Sorry. Somehow I got it in my head that he caught 1 and ran 1 in, but it was 2 on the ground. Yeah.
If you saw the trick play, Johnson handed it off him in the end zone, and he passed and he flipped through midair. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. That play kind of blew up on Twitter. I saw these NFL accounts or people that follow the NFL being which NFL team is going to run this play next year.
Yeah, I know he's only been in the USFL for 2 years, but I think he'll get a camp. I think he could get a camp invite. You never know.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you think how many people do you think is going to get a camp invite?
Oh gosh. Well, I think last year they had 50 some.
They had 30 signing. They had 30. They had 30 signings though, but a lot of these signings came back to play for another year.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
So do a lot of these signings go to the practice squad?
Yeah, the majority, I would say.
But I think the difference is though, a lot of them came back because they had 30 signings, but I think a lot of them didn't think they were ready. They needed another year of seasoning in the league. I think that's why.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anything else for this week? Are we ready for next week?
I think we are. It should be another good week. I mean, a lot.
Are you driving over to Memphis, Luke?
Yep, I'll be there. There'll be a lot to.
Taking the wife.
Yep, me and the wife are going. Actually, my father-in-law lives in Memphis, so we're going to go to the game and then celebrate Father's Day.
Eat some good barbecue while you're down there, my man.
Oh yeah, always do.
I heard Memphis is a little better than where you're at. Is that true? For
Depends on who you
barbecue, or are
ask.
you guys just about the same?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask my wife, she would definitely agree with that. Personally, having lived in Birmingham for a while, I prefer Birmingham barbecue, but that's probably mainly just because I know the places I like here. I know what I like. Alabama has this thing called Alabama white sauce, which is like a white vinegar based sauce that they'll also put on like either, pulled chicken or barbecue. That's really good. So it's hard for me to eat barbecue now without that. So I'm partial to Birmingham, but don't release this clip to people of Memphis because they'll find me and beat me up this weekend probably.
I'm just asking questions, Luke.
Yeah. Hopefully my wife doesn't see this.
Well, if you retweet it, I did send it to you.
It's true. Memphis people are they're very proud of their city, so they don't take well to people
I
saying
like
other
the
people.
hole in the wall barbecues. I think those are the best to find in the cut.
Yeah, I will say Memphis definitely probably has which I mean it's not really surprising, but they probably have more options than Birmingham. If I would guess off the top of my head, I mean I haven't sat down and counted them up, um, but there's probably more historic kind of options in Memphis. But and obviously Memphis is probably known a little bit more for their barbecue than we are. But I think Birmingham's got. I mean, the entire Birmingham scene is actually food scene is actually one of the best in the country, especially for the size of the city. So there's a lot of hidden gems here.
Jamie, you got any good barbecue up by you?
We got
If you like barbecue.
We got dinosaur barbecue in downtown Rochester.
Nice. They've got those good wings up there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, New York's known for their wings up top, huh?
Buffalo wings, yep.
I love me some
Your
wings.
favorite?
I don't really eat buffalo wings, but
Oh,
What's your go-to, James?
burgers, some pizza, some things like that. Just things like that, or quesadillas.
The normal stuff.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I start thinking south. I start thinking barbecue, Luke. I'm with you.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we got any closing moments or anything?
Should be a great week coming up.
I'm excited. I'm ready. I
time to
don't have
put
off, so obviously I can't drive over. But
Time to put a bow on week 9, and let's finish week 10 with a bang, and then it's playoff time.
Luke, maybe we can get some pictures for next week from your trip to Memphis.
Yeah, I'll try and take some for sure.
Are you going to be back in time? Do we need to move the day over or anything?
No, we'll be back probably on Sunday.
Okay. I was just checking. I didn't know if you were going to stay a couple days up in Memphis and, relax a little bit.
We'll go up on Friday and then come back on Sunday. It's only like a 3.5 hour drive, so it's not bad.
And you can drive a little faster in the South as well.
Yep. Especially between here and Memphis, there's really nothing. So it's a wide open interstate pretty much.
Next week, we should have our regular host back. Luke, how people get a hold of you, buddy?
So you can find me on Twitter. That's really where I'm most active. My handle is there on the screen, but it's at Luke Miller PFN. And then if you want to see any of my writing or articles, you can go to usflnewsroom.com. I published an article today kind of recapping the Stallions game against Houston this past weekend. And probably in the next day or two, I should have an article coming out kind of explaining what I was talking about earlier with the playoff scenarios. So if you're interested in that for the South, I'll put that out there in the next day or two so you can keep an eye out for that.
Always share it with us, man. I retweet it. Jamie, you wrote a good article last week. I read it. It was good. Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure.
Whenever it was, I'm glad you liked it, but you did read it. So I appreciate that. Anyway, you guys can find me on this Twitter account here. I'm Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist at DJ Dog Tags and DefiantTakesFootball.com. And you can also find me on my other Twitter account, my Buffalo Bills Twitter account, Bills Chat One, at yahoo.com at Bills Mafia Chat. And I also write for Defiant Takes Football, and you can find my sports stories there on the Buffalo Bills, Syracuse Orange, and spring football, which is the USFL and XFL content. Thank you very much.
All right. I am at Sports Talking It. You can find me there on Twitter at Driving to the Top Productions. You can find me there at Hammer Time Pit. You can find me there. Also, you can find us on the YouTube Driving to the Top Productions. We do our best, and we're all about growing and getting it out there, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Other than that, I am signing off. And we coming back next Tuesday, 9:30, 9 o'clock?
Yes, you can plan on me being there.
I think
And
that should
Evan
work.
should be back. Hopefully things have calmed down in this neck of the world. Bless you.
Thanks.
And that's the way we're going to close out with a Jamie sneeze.
There you go.